You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver media podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning, and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 170 of the Daily Beaver morning show here on the Crier Media Network. Today, recording day is Saturday, July 22nd, 2023, for rebroadcast on Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. Few days ahead, the Weather Network tells us that there should probably be some thunder showers here at the Beaver Lodge sometime around noon or after lunch, which I'm a little bit grateful because with the heat spell, the ground could use a drink. As long as it's a little drink. Again, hello, Nova Scotia. We see you. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my dear friend, Mr. Grizzly. And thank you for joining us today, kids. We're happy that you're here, even though I am still camping in real life because we're still time traveling. Of course. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And you know that Mr. Grizzly is not drinking that at 7 a.m.
Nitro cold brew coffee beer from Guinness.
That's the good stuff.
So I'm getting my coffee and my beer at the same time while on vacation.
There
and it's
you
not
go.
7 a.m., but we're broadcasting at 7, even though we're not recording at 7.
Yeah. That would always confuse me a little bit. It's like coffee's a stimulant and the caffeine's a stimulant in coffee.
No, I guess one's a depressant, one's an upper, stimulant. One's a downer. It flattens you right out.
Yeah, one's an upper, one's a downer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
coffee's an upper, alcohol's a downer. Well, you also have to remember too, because it's Guinness, it's 4.4% alcohol per volume, so it's less than your standard pint, right?
Yeah. I'm a bit of a mess here, kids, because as the credits were running, I thought, oh my God, it's supposed to be a different day. So,
you're not supposed to tell them that.
Well, because I'm a mess, I didn't quite pull it off. So I figured
you're giving away the secrets, man.
But
he just pulls back the curtain to reveal us.
No pride, no shame, people. No, I will show you how messy I am.
Show you how the sausage is made.
Sometimes the Queen Beaver's a hot mess. But it just happens. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. And thank you for your support. We really, really appreciate it.
Oops,
I'm
I
your
forgot
host.
to take this down. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
I had
I'm
left
your
that
host.
up.
The Eager Beaver pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver, eh? And, well, I'm having a good day. I just have to say it. I'm having a good day today. I get to spend time with one of my favorite people. And because we're recording 2 shows on the day, then that means bonus grizzly time and weekend grizzly time. That always makes me very, very happy. Um, as I'm actually on a camping trip with my Beaver Sweetie as you're listening to this, Kits and Cubs. You know what? When I thought we were going to do this, I thought I was going to just run through a whole bunch of old stories. And it's really amazing how between yesterday, Friday,
And
the time
today.
we signed off, and today, 11, which is like a day and what we did 3 hours, a day and 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
After about the time we signed off yesterday. So much news. We filled all yesterday's show, and now we've got stuff for today.
Yeah.
You asked yesterday, how do people keep up?
It's difficult. It's difficult. Like, I mean, and this is, we have our day jobs and our daily lives and our hobbies and sports that we do. And you have a partner, I have a partner. We're busy. We're busy individuals, but we're still trying to do the best that we can do to get you as much news and curate as much as for you as we can. And we have a difficult time keeping up. So I'm thinking, like, if it's difficult for us, and this is a passion that we pursue, what's it like for the average person who works as many hours and has maybe a couple of kids along with a partner and 2 jobs or whatever the case may be? Maybe they have a hobby or something, who knows, trying to find some downtime. And it's like, oh, I got to catch up with what's going on the planet. Well, all they get is a clickbait headline, which never tells the true story. And then that helps to form an opinion. And I get it. You're busy. It's tough. But this is what certain politicians rely upon, the clickbait headline, the nanosecond win. They don't want you to know the true story.
Mm-mm.
They don't.
No, not at all. And yeah, I mean, just from my end, it's just on podcasts alone. Never mind newspaper articles and the amount of stuff I have to let go.
Yes, we can't. Yeah, we can't do it all.
That's amazing. Like, sometimes there's like a smaller story somewhere about something great that happened or an investment that's being made somewhere what was really needed. And it's like, and it doesn't fit into anything and it doesn't tie in anything and I can't bring it into the story, and like just mentioning it for 5 seconds without any context or anything doesn't give you any value added. You can find that on your own. But yeah, it's amazing. Or even like little details of stuff, intrigue that, it's just too much. It would take too long to tell. And there's, depending on whether or not it's a slow or fast news day. But these days, they just seem to be all fast news days. It's just ridiculous.
It's hard to keep up.
I'm guessing that your mental health isn't going much different since the last show.
Not a lot. No, it's still pretty good. Well, I got a fresh pint in front of me, so.
All right.
Pretty good.
So
I have a clip for you.
Yeah.
A tweet, actually. I have a tweet.
Yep. Let's start with this because this is a part of the so much news.
And there's a video attached, but I'm not going to show the video.
Okay.
It's.
I'm just
going to show you the tweet.
I've got the long one. Okay, that's the one.
We'll show the long one. But I want to show you this tweet because this comes from a friend of ours.
Yes.
Part of the Crier Media Network. He's a really good guy, a solid dude, and I know how much he loves and cares for you. So I thought it important that we give him the respect that this tweet deserves.
Yes.
And here it is. I'm going to put it on the screen. I'll leave it there for a few seconds, then I'll read it for the audio-only version. So those of you who can see this at home, this is from our friend Ray Routh, at DPN_Ray. And what Ray has to say is, I'm not a huge fan of Justin, but he's got people inches away from his face screaming nonsense, and he doesn't drop a smile and keeps shaking hands and taking selfies. It's kind of badass. And you know what? He will not be deterred.
Mm-hmm.
And he does not run away. And people go, well, he ran away. And I go, no, that's his security detail. That's the RCMP that says, we got to get you out of here. He has to follow that protocol. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know damn well he wanted to stay and probably wanted to have the conversation with a few people, except why didn't he go out and talk to them when they were in Ottawa? Well, because they brought nooses. They were screaming for his head. They wanted to remove him from the democratically elected position that he holds. And they were doing the same thing again yesterday, as evidenced by this video. I believe you have, sir. Is the tape? Can we go to tape? Is it ready to roll?
I believe it is.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's just put this up. Yeah, I'll get you to
it
blow that up fully.
A little larger. Oh.
Yeah. Oh no, just click on. You should have a right-click link to go to the full screen in the video.
Yep. I see that right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Go there and then blow up the sound, and away we go.
Okay, now for anyone listening at home and about to watch, and if you haven't seen this yet, language. Oh my God, so much language.
Oh, so much language. And a possible trigger warning or two here and there.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Arrest this piece of shit! Arrest him! He's clearly left! You're a criminal! You're a criminal! You're the reason why Mike didn't get a fucking appointment, nothing! You're a piece of shit criminal! You're a fucking criminal! You need to be arrested!
You got the right one, I promise. Back up. Don't push me. Don't push me. Don't push me. Piece of shit pedophile. You just did. You just
Anyway, you get the idea.
And you notice the Trump flag?
Yep. Right there.
Do you know what country you're in?
And here, you know when I say the face contorts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you're spitting it out with that venom, the face contorts.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lady, I'm just going to push it because.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to push you. I'm going to put my hands on you. Push you.
Mm-hmm.
Just because. Where's that? Oh, yeah, this one. That's the other one from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The F. Trudeau flag, but the Trump version.
It's in the MAGA, Trump 2024 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. So that was in Belleville. There is allegations that the people there have been bussed in, but look at this. Who tweeted this and what does this say, Mr. Grizzly?
Brian Lilly. Brian Lilly from the Toronto Sun. The people in this video have lost their minds. That's telling. When you've lost Brian Lilly.
I'm like, but of course, Brian Lilly accepts absolutely no responsibility for pumping fentanyl daily for years into the political climate that made this possible.
And I'm not arguing with his tweet. His tweet is correct. These people have lost their minds.
So,
they have.
Guy in the orange.
He contributed to that, though.
Yeah. Guy in the orange who was just in this clip right here. I won't. I'll turn down the volume. Sorry, but guy in the orange right here. Okay. Yelling right directly at his face, Prime Minister, not even looking at it, talking to the person, just moving on.
Yep.
Just moving on. And, they be losing their GD ever non-loving minds, and the PM be like, y'all still haven't learned that interacting with citizens is where I shine, haven't y'all? I'll keep doing me and you do you, cheries. Little Winnie the Pooh dancing all around. Look at all the bothers I give. It is badass. It is badass when you're having that much venom sitting around you to just go about and do what you do and isolate those people from your view and just focus on the people who are there. It is, and you know what? Pointing, laughing, mocking, behaving like you are totally indifferent. In the battle tone versus canatone. And you know why these people are saying, Brian Lilly is saying, complaining that these people have lost their minds. Because they're watching this and they're going like, no moderate is going to want to vote for a party that attracts this. Right?
So he's got to protect his guy again. So I've got some commentary here from the mayor of the city of Belleville where this took place. It's a few tweets. I'll read them out. I think it's hats off to him for his commentary.
There's more from him.
Let's just go with it. Yeah, it says, after taking some time, this is from Neil Ellis, the mayor of Belleville. After taking some time to reflect, hang on a second, let me just do this where it's easier for me to read. After taking some time to reflect, I would like to address the actions of certain individuals during our visit from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this past Thursday. While every Canadian has the right to protest, the hateful and discriminatory behavior displayed by some during the visit was absolutely unacceptable. It is an honor to host the Prime Minister in our city, and regardless of your political views, no person deserves the treatment he received during his time here. Freedom of speech and the right to protest can be a wonderful thing. It is a part of what makes democracy great. However, what happened on Thursday was far beyond that. On behalf of the city, I would like to thank Prime Minister Trudeau for taking the time to visit Belleville and hope that we can all move forward from this experience. Now, there's a couple of tweets below this that I think are interesting, but here's the one here's the takeaway that I think a lot of people missed out on. Somebody said, tweeting trucker says, there were many plainclothes RCMP present right around the PM. This is their job, specifically PM detail. They do nothing else. Because he says, I can't help but to wonder if more security should have been provided for the PM's visit. From the video circulating online, I saw only one uniformed policeman. And again, you'll have a lot of plainclothes RCMP officers. And the response to that, to the thing about, they're plainclothes, they're protecting them, that's their job. True, there were security details for the PM. But what about the public? There were children there, and they were swarmed by these aggressive, flag-waving cult members. Public safety should have been a concern. And you know what? To that I say, yeah. What if I was there because I wanted to see the PM and I got one of those idiots in my face? Now, I probably would have done my best to restrain myself. But if you start screaming in my face like that, I don't know if I can hold back. I don't know that I would raise my fists, but I would definitely raise my voice. Mm-hmm. And that might come to fisticuffs. So you understand why I avoid those situations? Mm-hmm. I avoid those situations entirely.
Yep. And now the second part of Brian Lilly, because he wrote a column on it. Mm-hmm. And again, it's... But, it's not... Sorry, that's my bad. I thought it was set up for you to put up. There it is.
Okay, got it.
Again, the Brian Lilly tweet, what it's about, what it's not about, and
give me a sec here.
If we try again, of course, let's leave it up. It'll probably come up there in a bit. Brian Lilly says, calling Justin Trudeau a pedophile, a criminal, and, quote, a pathetic Jew is ignorant, disgusting, and wrong. The people doing it say they want him out of office. Instead, they are helping him stay there. What the tweet most definitely is not about. Calling Justin Trudeau a pedophile, criminal, and pathetic Jew is ignorant, disgusting, and wrong. What the tweet is about. Instead, they are helping him stay in office.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
They know that this behavior paints a picture of the poor prime minister being verbally assaulted in this manner, unreasonably and ridiculously, everywhere he goes. And we know which party is trying to benefit from that, or which parties are trying to benefit.
Well, there was a woman in the crowd screaming at him, and I'm going to quote her. These are her words, not mine. And if I had to censor it, I would. She screamed, "You filthy Jew pedo, go back to China." Not a word of that makes any goddamn sense whatsoever.
Nope.
Not a word of it. He's French Canadian on his father's side. He's Catholic, number one. But that's neither here nor there. She was just showing her anti-Semitism, her racist, hateful bigotry that is so baked into that group of, I don't know, what do they call themselves? Christians? Go back to China, you pedo. Okay. A lot of the people on that side of the fence seem to think that he was fathered by Fidel Castro. So that would be Cuba, not China. But it's not even geographically or physically possible because he was 2 years old before their very first visit there. So you can throw that out the window. And if you look at a picture of a very young Pierre Trudeau, you can see that Justin looks just like his father. But you know, let's ignore that. And then there's this. There's this thing here. This I'm gonna share this for a second, and we'll get right back to it in a second. This individual, if it shows on the screen, I'll blow this up a little bit so you can see it. This lunatic and this is somebody else's words. This lunatic at Justin Trudeau's event is a member of a conspiracy theory pushing hate group Hold Fast. They have a Facebook page with 3,800 members. You only need to click on the profiles of the admins to get an idea of how unhinged they are. And that's this guy.
That logo, well, that's the guy in the orange shirt that was yelling directly in his face.
Yes, it was. Now, that guy was also present in Ottawa during the occupation. And
I was wondering where we saw that logo before.
Look at that. Yeah. Oh yeah, here's the full length version right here. Look at that. Huh. So again, let's scroll down the page here. We'll just go back one more. So that's Pierre with right? So here's Pierre, right? Right? And here is orange shirt guy screaming in the face of the Prime Minister in Belleville just the other day. Huh. Isn't that peculiar?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a connection here?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not saying there is, but
yeah. So you've got like Brian Lilly saying all this is wrong. Protesters making crazy claims will only help re-elect Trudeau. So that's what he's, in the tweet he talks about this is wrong like this, and then because Brian Lilly, anytime you criticize one of his articles, he just says, read the article. I did read the article. That's why I'm criticizing it, dumbass. The fact that I'm criticizing it doesn't mean I didn't read it. Then you've got this thing, saying it's, anyway, you can read it if you want to. With this, I mean, he's reporting what happened and all that kind of stuff, and pretty faithfully. There's no problem there. But then, it's like, no wonder people are angry because we have this going on and this. So he uses that as a pretext to then launch into all the things he's doing wrong. It's like, no, it's either your article is either about it's wrong doing this or it's not. And this article is not. So he wants these people to stop doing this because, oh my God, this looks terrible and this really hurts the brand. And I'm like sitting there at home going like, oh, well, look at Dr. Brian Frankenstein trying to cast himself as reasonable and above the fray now that the monster he had quite a hand for years in building. he gave it life, blood, and breath, is becoming a liability. What's your problem, Brian? This is exactly what you wanted.
You've been fomenting this for years. Oh, you mean the leopard that eat people's faces party wants to eat my face? Huh.
Isn't this what you wanted? Isn't this what you were building up to? Isn't this what you were hoping would happen?
It's like,
but now it's like, oh, this is wrong because it might help him win.
I can't even. Some days I can't even.
Unimpressed face. I'm just... These people. All right. Enough about idiots.
Yeah. Shall we move? Let's move things along a little bit. I'm a little exasperated right now. I mean, his whole thing about insulting a woman's dwelling in Niagara Falls as a shack, which is called a strawberry box, by the way. World War II built houses. They were very well built. I know I lived in them all my whole life as a military kid.
I live in one right now.
You live in one right now?
Yep. Broadcasting from the Beaver Shack.
Yeah, the Beaver Shack. Yeah. Well, and then he tries to compare. Well, look, it's half price in Niagara Falls, New York. Yeah, well, that's a different country, you chuckle fuck, number one. And number two, ask people what the economy is like in Niagara Falls, New York versus Niagara Falls, Ontario, and why housing is priced at what it is. There's a reason. Niagara Falls, New York is a depressed area. And when people go to Niagara Falls, they cross the border to come to Ontario, where there's a casino and another casino and a water park and a Skylon Tower and hotels that are 65 and 70 floors tall so that they can get views of the Horseshoe Falls, because that's what you want to see. Oh, but you can also see the American Falls from our side. You go to Clifton Hill, where there's places to party and drink and have fun. You don't have any of that on the New York side, because they had to build a viewing platform that extends way out over the Niagara River so you could even see their own falls. All the money, all the tourism dollars are in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Oh, and what's just a 5-minute drive from Niagara Falls? Niagara-on-the-Lake, one of the prettiest towns in all of Canada, where they have the Shaw Festival, which, guess what, sells out every year.
Yep. Also have a good selection of plays this year. We were looking at that too last night.
Well, and one more thing. What's that also? What that area of Niagara, what's it also known for? What it's wine country. So all the tourism dollars, all the money, all the jobs, all of it is on the Canadian side. So yeah, real estate's going to be higher because incomes are higher. And it's a different country, you chuckle fuck. Jesus, this guy. He doesn't know how to compare an apple to an apple.
Nope. It's not in his interest to, though.
No, of course not.
Because if you also look at rage and hate. Because if you look at the periods of time, if he's just looking at the numbers, it's so much less. But houses in the United States increased by the same amount in percentage.
Yes, as they did in Canada.
But in the period immediately before that, which was the Harper period, ours increased by something like 70% in the United States, like not even
17.
20, like 17.
Oh, actually, I think I have that.
Yeah, you wrote it yesterday in the thing. That's what it was in the description. That's where I got the information from.
Yeah. And what's this? Is this? Oh, no, that's different. That's a different. Oh, wait a minute. I can pull it up. Give me a sec. I have the, it was the Fred and the, where is it here? So there's the Fred. So I'll put this on the screen. This is the Fred, which is a real estate, federal real estate thing in the U.S. And I'll blow it up. You can see that. So median sales price, you can see how they rose.
Yep.
Right. And then spiked and they dropped a bit.
Yep.
But they're still incredible. Like $500,000 for a home is the average median sales price for houses sold in the United States is $436,000. people go, well, that's a lot cheaper. And I go, yeah, but if you buy the house, so let's say you're fortunate enough to have an income where you can afford to come up with the down payment and get the mortgage and buy that house for $500,000. And I know I'm splitting hairs. It was 436, but after fees and lawyers' fees and real estate and blah blah blah, $500,000, right? Is that unreasonable?
Well, let's just say it's a nice round number.
Okay, it's a nice round number, and one we can deal with. So $500,000. Okay, so for the same house in, say, Ottawa, that's going to cost you $1 million. It's a lot of money, and I can't afford it, and I'll never be able to. Let's take into consideration, though, our taxes. We pay about the same amount of income tax, percentage-wise. Our sales tax is a little higher because we have the HST, right, which used to be the GST and PST and combined. But that helps to, pay down our debt, and it's done a very good job of doing that. And it also goes into other programs that help, social safety net. And, what's that one other thing that we don't have to pay for in Ontario or any other province in Canada? Health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What is the average health insurance payment in the United States of America for somebody who owns a $500,000 home?
Mm-hmm.
Probably around, maybe have a kid, wife, maybe a couple of kids. So let's say you're paying $3,800 a month in insurance premiums. And that's only in the event that you may get sick or have a catastrophic injury or a catastrophic illness.
Mm-hmm.
So when you run those numbers,
Mm-hmm.
Skippy, you are so far off base. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's so far out to lunch. It's not even, you're not comparing an apple to an apple.
Yep.
It's an apple to a watermelon, for Christ's sake.
Yep, absolutely. In other news, the BC port strike seems to be coming to an end. The union is recommending that members accept a deal in a vote that will be taking place this morning when you are watching. The BC Maritime Employer Association says the agreement is the same one that the caucus rejected days ago. Not sure why they walked away, not sure why they agreed to the same one. All of that seems to have gone in some mysterious vat of nobody's talking. The president of the Canadian Alliance of Terminals, William McKinnon, says that there's a backlog of about hundreds of shipping containers and it will take about 6 to 8 weeks to normalize operations. I do not know what my sweetie is make noise back there.
That's really loud.
Hold on, I'll just...
That's really loud. Yeah, just go on mute there for a minute, because holy Hannah, that was loud. While Mr. Beaver's doing that, I've got I got a clip here I'm going to show you real quick. It's only 10 seconds, but this is what we were talking about, and we talked about this earlier. And this is from Chris Daisy Media. Oh, that little shit gibbon. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm going to show you the video real quick. It's 10 seconds, and then we'll discuss. And let me see. Okay, here we are. Yeah, and that's good. All right, let me hit play, and you'll understand this when you see it and hear it.
You're a pathetic kid! You are a pathetic kid! You're all a bunch of pathetic Off the street! Off the
And this is from the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center. A video is being shared widely on social media that depicts a protester in Belleville yelling, "You're a pathetic Jew." I thought it was filthy Jew. It was pathetic Jew is what she shouted, at least twice to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Protest is essential to any democracy, but hatred spreads when it is tolerated. Which brings us back to this: no tolerance for the intolerant. We urge any media sharing the video to condemn this vile expression of anti-Semitism. And remember the paradox of tolerance. It's on the screen, but I'll read it for those of you who have not heard it. It's by philosopher Karl Popper. Should a tolerant society tolerate intolerance? The answer is no. When we extend tolerance to those who are openly intolerant, the tolerant ones end up being destroyed and tolerance with them. Any movement that preaches intolerance and persecution must be outside of the law. As paradoxical as it may seem, defending tolerance requires to not tolerate the intolerant.
Sorry, I got pulled away there, kids. We have a sensor. Should the washer and dryer leak somehow on
Oh, my.
hardwood floor that makes a large noise, and it seems something got wet.
That was a very noticeable noise. It's a good sensor because it lets you know.
Yep, it does let us know. And it was we tested it like the first time to see if it worked, but we kind of forgot what it because it's never run.
Decided to let you know.
Yeah, decided to let us know. So as I was saying, the president of the Canadian Alliance of Terminals, William McKinnon, says that there's a backlog of hundreds of shipping containers, and it will take about 6 to 8 weeks to normalize operations. Now, let me see if you can guess which way his political leanings may be going from this quote. I think that this matter took far too long to resolve. Frankly, on a global perspective, it's very embarrassing for Canada.
You don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to spell it out.
No, the matter did not take too long to resolve. The matter did not take too long to resolve. It did not. It played out. The labor minister did an extremely good job at weighing both sides, pushing when he needed to, and getting a deal done. And remember when Polliver said it was, this gross incompetence? Well, if they did sign the same damn deal that was available the first time, then the whole reason for which everything else happened had nothing to do with the freaking minister. And he made it very clear that his patience was running thin. He did go to the Federal Industrial Board and get that decision in record time, which means he was prepared. I'm giving you some leeway, but while you're getting that leeway, I'm preparing stuff. So, because in case you dick around, I'm just going to boom. And he did. He did a very, very good job.
Both Danielle Smith and Pierre Polliver were insisting that they legislate them back to work right away. Well, we're for the workers. Bullshit.
Yeah. So the International Longshore and Warehouse Union will hold a stop work meeting at 8 a.m. BC time this morning prior to the vote taking place. Seamus O'Regan Jr. said that right now BC ports are operating, but we need long-term stability. So hopefully this deal will get signed. I've been noticing that in the news, all the quotes have been coming from the business community. We really need to do something really like this, but there's not very many coming from the workers. I'm not sure why that balance is not there. It might be because the union is not having any workers speak to anyone until the deal is actually signed. I don't know. But yeah, the perspective of how this affected poor industry seems to be the one that's dominating, and how we must take some type of steps. Some people are calling, says, maybe could we establish some intermediate steps like work stoppages or shortages or something like that instead of going full bore strike or whatever. It's listen, I'm sure those were options and weren't forbidden. Right? Clearly, it was not the strategy that was employed. Now, somewhere along the way in the PR, the employers, the BC Maritime Employers Association, decided that they needed to point out that the employees make a median salary of $137,000 a year in BC, where things are very, very expensive. But
very expensive.
But they and then inflation, but they turn around and say, well, we're just going to say, well, the median makes 137 because, if you just look at the number, that's definitely not the median salary across Canada. So then they get to look at Brady, right?
Well, it's all relative, right? Yeah. I mean, what is again, in the city of Ottawa, and I don't even know what the current state is as of today. This is from 2 years ago. Middle class cutoff was $87,000 2 years ago. I know it's gone up since then.
Yeah.
So I don't even qualify. Middle class income in Toronto, 130, and that's from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
but when you're turning around,
137,000, that's middle class income.
But when you're the employer and you turn around and you say, just these whiny little employers make 100. That's the
employees. Yeah. That's the tell.
That's the cookie. Yeah. Watch them; they're coming for your cookie. Type of discourse, right?
That's exactly what it is.
But just to make this clear, it's like Simon Fraser University professor of labor studies, John Henry Harder, says, just 5 of the 49 top
earn that.
Not the employees, the employers.
Oh, okay.
5 of the 49 different employers in this field, made $100 billion over the pandemic in profit. So they're like dragons hoarding gold, blaming the villagers for being mad at them.
100 billion in profit?
5 of the 49.
Let's go back again to what we talked about yesterday. 1 million seconds is 11.5 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. They made 100 billion.
3,200 years.
Yeah.
5 of the 49 in profit over the course of the pandemic.
Wow. But we can't pay them a living wage because our fuck off. That's all I got. Fuck off.
Pretty much.
That's it.
Pretty much.
Fuck off.
Pretty much.
Well, you know how let's stick with this for just a minute, quickly. You know the Sunshine List. You're familiar with the Sunshine List, started by Mike Harris about provincial government employees who earned $100,000. If you earned over $100,000, you're on the Sunshine List. That's from 30 years ago, and the Sunshine List cutoff is still $100,000. Again, like I said, it's about $87,000 in Ottawa from 2 years ago. It's probably well over 95 right now, maybe 90. I don't know, but let's say 87,000 from 2 years ago is the cutoff in Ottawa to join the middle class. Consider this: to rent a one-bedroom apartment on your own in the city of Ottawa right now and have a livable wage, you need to be paid $40 an hour. I don't earn that, so I don't even meet that, which is why I'm staying in my rent-controlled apartment until they bury me. Okay. Toronto, it's a great deal more expensive. 130 is the cutoff for middle class. So if $100,000 is on the Sunshine List, that's $30,000 below the middle class cutoff for the city of Toronto, which is where Queen's Park is and the bulk of provincial employees reside. So the Sunshine List is outdated because $100,000 doesn't have the purchasing power in 2023 that it had in 1993. Not even close. You're barely middle class in Ottawa, and you're below it in Toronto. So it's about the optics, right? And it's like, repaint the optics. And a lot of people have been calling, look, get rid of the Sunshine List or update it. One or the other.
Yep.
Because it's probably close to $200,000 to be considered, you know, what the cost of living was at the time in 93 and, you know, your income, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
Let's see. What else is the news?
I got something from Lisa if you want to see it.
Okay.
Well, I'm asking, did you have something? Because I thought it looked like you were struggling there for a little bit there. Because I've got a video from Lisa from yesterday.
No, not struggling at all. But okay.
Oh, you good? Okay, go. Go
ahead, please.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Lisa, and it's good. It's good because you know how much we love Lisa, right? Because she's just so damn good. So this is her take on Belleville. You're going to enjoy this.
This is a rhetorical question. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Go back to China. I thought y'all thought he was Cuban. This one blamed Trudeau for his son not being able to get an apartment. Nice hat, dude. He's the dude at the kids' hockey game that used to yell at the other kids when his kid couldn't score. And he seems to still be doing it. I'm going to say you're probably the reason your son can't get an apartment. Maybe don't wear that hat when you're going to see potential rental suites. But we've seen that hold fast thing before. Oh yeah, I'm sure Pierre didn't have time to read that either. Remember when the clown convoy was happening? And you all said all Justin had to do was come down and talk to the people. That's why he didn't. Because y'all are fucking unhinged. Like, that isn't even protest. That's heresy. Yelling and screaming at anybody in that fashion, in that cluster of Mensa candidates, is not championing any cause. The hurling of insults and slurs, the flying of the flag, makes you all look like clowns. Because not one of you had an argument there. Not one of you took the opportunity to actually have a conversation with the Prime Minister if you have so many things that you're concerned about. Because Justin did take the time to take pictures and talk to people who weren't yelling at him. And you too could have had that opportunity to bring up whatever the fuck it is this moment that you don't like. Whatever your specific issue of the moment is. But you couldn't even organize that right. You just got a bunch of donkeys together to just yell and wave flags and give them the finger. Good debate. Now, you guys probably think that you're heroes in your little circles, but the rest of Canadians are laughing at you. You do not represent the majority. And just because you're loud doesn't mean that you're saying anything important. Remember Jean Chrétien when he gave the Shawinigan handshake? I kind of miss Chrétien. He didn't get a rise out of Justin. His security detail didn't put anybody to the ground. There was no horse that came and knocked people down. I guess you guys can't argue anymore that Canada's not a free country. Because you exercised your freedoms quite liberally yesterday. Seemingly without consequence. But also without success. Like, I very clearly don't like Danielle Smith or her policies. And I've been to a protest or two. But you're not going to catch me flying a fuck Danielle Smith flag. Because that does sweet fuck all. Like, they actually think he's going to, step down because they got mad and yelled at him. Why don't you take Pierre's advice and just cross the border into the U.S. where you can buy a house for $217,000? And you and your sister cousin can live happily ever after. Fuck all y'all.
I know I've told you how much I love Lisa and her takes, but that was a take that I think was brilliant because in 3 minutes and 35 seconds, she kind of summed up what we've been talking about for the last couple of days. So well done. Mr. Beaver had some technical glitches there. He should rejoin us in a couple of minutes. I think his computer borked on him. It happens sometimes, you know. I'm just going to send him a quick message and say PC bork. And he will respond to me because we still have the text messaging thing, right? So he should reply in a moment or two. But, oh, there he is. He's right back right now. There we go. Had a PC bork, did you?
Yep. It seems to be happening once a day.
Yeah, it might be time for scrub and an upgrade, or I don't know. Maybe run malware, a malware scanner.
Yeah.
Anyway, neither here nor there for now. I don't know how much of that you caught of her clip, but you'll see it later anyway. But it was Lisa basically summing up what we've been talking about for the last 2 days. But it's just the way that she does it. I love it so much, and every now and then I just got to share it because it's like she just knocks it out of the park every single damn time.
Yep. Yes, she does.
You know,
absolutely. All right. In other news, which is somewhat seems disparate, but there's a quote there that will make you see how they're related. It's been about a year since the Pope has come to deliver his apology to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And it seems that there's not been much action since. Ted Cuson, who is a member of the Kisakus First Nation in Saskatchewan and a residential school survivor, is quoted as saying, "I really feel I've been used as an individual. The government used us, the Vatican used us, the bishops used us. There's no change at all. There's no next steps. I don't think it really helped our survivors, our First Nations across the country. I really don't." Peter Ernick, who drum danced in Iqaluit for the Pope, presented him with a handmade drum as a gesture to promote compassion, respect, peace, and harmony, is waiting for that to be returned. Not the drum, the compassion, respect, peace, and harmony. Quote, "Nobody has been in touch with me from the church," they said. Nobody from the Canadian Catholic bishops have been. The Inuit are willing to move forward the healing and reconciliation with the church. It's your move. Now, the bishops are saying that they are doing stuff like, making sure that they're releasing more documents and working hard to raise the $30 million that they're supposed to pay, for which they say they have a third, which sounds very, very, very familiar to what we've heard before. Last time there was a big settlement, they raised a certain portion, but were not able to raise it all. And I'm still not understanding why it is the case that when the church gets this thing that they say that they're going to contribute, why it is like they just don't hand over the money and raise the money from the parishioners later if the parishioners feel they deserve it. Why is it that these communities have to wait until they first raise the money from other people first to cover their debt? If you're not liquid, sell something.
It's kind of very Trumpian, don't you think? I'm a billionaire. Please donate money to help me fight my legal fees, fund my legal fees.
We did something wrong. Please donate to us to help us pay for it.
Yep.
It's not the way it should work.
No, you should suffer for it. Other people shouldn't have to pay for your mistake. Take it out of your own damn coffers. It's like, I got a parking ticket a couple of weeks ago. Can I just apply to people online for donations to pay it? It's not how it's supposed to fucking work.
And not paid until you actually raised enough donations.
Yeah.
And I guess it has to matter how much work you actually put into. I mean, if you just put a page up once and never promote it and never, not impressed. And on the other side of that ledger, you have Indigenous communities in Manitoba who are protesting the Brady Road landfill, who received an injunction about a week ago that they burned. No, the injunction said that they could stay on site but cannot block the road. And Joseph Monroe, who's a spokesperson for the protesters, said, "We as a people deserve a lot better than what she's given us as reconciliation goes. There is no reconciliation." And by she, it's Premier of Manitoba, Heather Stephenson, that he's referring to here. Red Raver Métis member Viv Vint said, and this is where it relates, "They did nothing about the convoy that was in Winnipeg and disturbed all the area residents. They let them camp there for how long? And we want our sisters dug up from the most inappropriate burial site you can think of, and they're going to charge us right away. But they let those truckers sit out there for how long? Because they have white privilege. We don't have that."
Exactly. How many times did I say? By the way, let's a slight little footnote to what you just said. Right? They don't have the white privilege. There was one single solitary individual who parked his car right in front of the main stage at the end of Metcalfe Street, right in front of Parliament Hill, protesting the protesters. One person. He's from Halifax. He's black. He was the first person arrested. The first person arrested was a black man from Halifax who was protesting the protesters. Give me a fucking break. I'm not joking. I saw it happen in real time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, some people said, well, he was unhinged. He wasn't the one honking horns and having disco dance parties at 2:00 in the morning and firing off fireworks at all hours in residential neighborhoods. He wasn't doing that. So how is he the unhinged one? Please explain that to me. Well, he yelled expletives. Yeah, so did I. Nobody arrested me. And I was surrounded by police seconds after that guy hit stop on the recording and ran away. Like the fucking coward he is.
Mm-hmm. But when it comes,
I get, when I see injustice, I call it out and I get mad.
Mhm.
You're absolutely right. They don't have the white privilege, so they couldn't do that.
Yep.
I exercise my white privilege knowing nothing would happen to me.
Yeah. So yeah, they were served for blocking access to the landfill, but nobody was served for blocking the border.
No. Oh, there was the few, but they were arrested because they had a plot to kill RCMP officers.
Yes.
And they were heavily armed.
Yes.
Speaking of RCMP officers.
Oh, no,
Keep rolling, but I got a footnote for later.
We're talking about 2 Indigenous women who were dumped in the landfill.
No, keep rolling. I got a footnote for later. That's all.
And this protester, Vivint, that's the place to think about twice. Think twice about one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It says, to the officer that's going to be arresting us, when you put your hands on that woman is grieving.
Yes. Think about that.
They are protesting the fact that the government of Manitoba does not see fit to spend money to look at a very specific portion of a landfill that has been determined after a feasibility study has been done to see if there's a manner in which 2 Indigenous women who have been murdered and dumped there can be returned to their families so that they can make sure that the bodies are treated with decency and dignity and have a place to go visit or commune with them that is not a dump.
Mm-hmm. Not a landfill, not a place where you throw your garbage.
They got subpoenaed already. Versus people who were in Ottawa for close to 4 weeks, taking 100,000 people hostage, loitering, defecating all over the place, causing fire hazards, safety hazards, harassing people, torturing people.
Assaulting people.
For the purpose of demanding that the President of the United States remove a vaccine mandate to allow them to go back. And because some people didn't want to meet the basic minimum public health requirements to hold their job. And because...
Yeah.
What else?
Oh.
Because no, I don't want to.
I don't want to. I don't want to. Well, we request that you respectfully wear a mask when you come into our store to protect the workers and the other patrons. I don't want to. That's an infringement upon my freedom and my rights. Actually, this is a private business, and if you don't follow our rules, you can get the fuck out.
I'm sorry,
but I have the right to be here. No, actually, you don't.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah, this is a Wendy's, sir. Yeah. It's private property. It's a private business. If you don't adhere to our rules and regulations, you don't get to come in. But I need groceries. Then put a mask on. I don't want to. Well,
then I guess you don't want to eat.
Starve. Fucking starve.
When you're hungry enough, let's talk about it.
Well, they're like mandates and lockdowns. Okay, fine. Why are you in Ottawa? Why are you in Ottawa?
Maybe I'm just a cold bitch, but it's like, okay, don't come crying to me. I got nothing for you. The power's in your own hands. Put the damn mask on.
Yeah, put the mask on. How long do you have to wear it for?
Okay, then you're not hungry enough.
You're clearly not hungry enough.
When you are, let me know. I'll be happy to let you in.
Oh, and isn't it convenient that the mandates were scheduled to? They had a cutoff date before the convoy even began.
Mm-hmm.
It had been decided the previous October that it would be ended sometime in March.
Yeah, so that they declare victory.
Yeah, they
regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, look at what we did. No, you didn't. You did nothing.
No.
And many of you threw your entire lives away for a cause that was not only nonsensical, but it was not achievable. And the border mandate. That's Joe Biden's. We can't do anything about that.
Yep.
Talk to Joe Biden. We can't do anything about that. I can't earn a livelihood driving my truck. Sure you can. We need people to move
within
shit
the
across
country.
the country. Just like, oh, look at that. You drove all the way to Ottawa.
Adapt.
You drove
Adapt.
all the way to Ottawa, but you say you have no freedom.
Adapt. You could keep driving. Exactly. You could have done the job within Canadian borders.
Well, and not only that.
You don't have to do international or cross-border. Adapt.
Not only that. Like when you say adapt, you also have to think that, the horse and buggy whip business, not doing so good anymore, right? Why? Because we have automobiles and public transportation. So the guys who used to sell horsewhip buggies or horse buggy whip, you know what I mean? The whips that they used to drive. Yeah, they adapted and got into another line of work because they realized there's no future in this.
No. They all shriveled up and died because as human beings, for some reason, they were unable to completely learn a different skill in order to make sure that when their tummy said, if you don't put something in this, you're going to wither away and die. But
yeah,
I guess that never... I only know how to do one thing.
Yeah, I can't learn
anything ever again.
Can't learn a new skill.
To take this job away from me, I guess. There's no way at all for me to earn a living whatsoever. Because I'm a victim and life is something that happens to me and I have absolutely no agency in my life. And
well, and I think a large part of that too is it's like, well, I don't want to do that job. Well, then starve. Do you know how many jobs I've had to do that I hated?
Find a job you like and get good at it and get the qualifications and go do that.
I did what
You're
I
not
had
without
to
choices.
do. I did what I had to do to keep a roof over my head and food on my table. I'm very fortunate now to have a job that I love. I'm not paid very well, but I love my job. And I literally was, before I got the position that I currently have, I was this close to quitting because I was miserable. I hated going to work every day. Then I got this position and now I'm happy because I like what I do.
Mm-hmm. And who you do it for.
Yes. And you know exactly who that is and how much. We can't talk about it here.
Yes.
But that, and that's the reason, right? That's the reason right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason right there.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate. Not everybody gets that, but I had to wait till I was in my mid-50s. You know, I worked and I worked a lot of miserable jobs until I got to my mid-50s to get to a job that, I earned more money 7 years ago than I earn right now. I earned a lot more money 7 years ago than I do right now. Yeah. But I still do my job because I love it, and I'm happy to go to work every day. So I'm very lucky and fortunate. But again, I had to take all these other crap jobs to get to this one. That's how life is, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't that way. And if we had a UBI, I might not have suffered for as many years and broke my body by taking those jobs because that was what was available at the time. I might have been able to just, okay, I'm on UBI. I'm going to go and study and I'm going to do this instead because I have the time to do it now. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist. And if you go to school while you're on EI, they cut your EI, which I'm trying to retrain for my job. Yeah, but you know, that's never made sense to me.
Yeah. That's because it's another program, I guess. You go get a student loan, I guess, or something. But I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been a while for me too.
It's complicated.
Now, kids, yesterday we read you a story about Patrick Brown. Mm-hmm. There's another story. It's more an opinion piece that I've been wanting to read for you for a couple of weeks now. Okay. Now, remember when we presented that opinion piece by Tasha Keraden?
Which one was that?
Talking about the Supreme Court justices.
Oh, yes. That uninformed opinion piece.
Yes, because Justice Brown had to step down. Mm.
Well,
similar type
of
thing going on, courtesy of Canada's dourest man, Andrew Coyne.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Little coin drop here.
I'll put it on.
I know I'm talking a massive coin drop, big time. On July 7th, there was an article called "Rule by the Second Place: The Coming Crisis of Legitimacy in Federal Politics." And, well, you know.
Look at Pierre lovingly looking at Justin in that photo.
It's another edition of Queen Beaver Storytime, kids and cubbies. So, since I'm camping, why not a little campfire story?
Oh, I got to get a beer for this.
Okay.
I'll get a Guinness. Just give me a sec.
Okay. So, your s'mores and your little bevy, and let's talk about what Andrew Coyne thinks. Let's talk about his, as Nate Pike would say, thoughts on what is an illegitimate federal political situation in his mind. In his mind. There you go. There's the pour. There's the pour. Getting ready for it. Making sure you're all comfortable. There you go. Got your marshmallows, got your steaks. S'mores are getting ready.
Maybe some weenies. Roast some
Weenie
weenies.
roast. Oh, yes. Let's roast a weenie. It's time for a weenie roast.
I think so. Okay, I've got my pint. I'm settled in my comfortable chair for Queen Beaver story time. Please, sir, regale us.
Once upon a time, kitties and cubs. Then again, maybe the Liberals do need to worry. No doubt there were plenty of sighs of relief in government circles after those 4 by-elections last month, where the party not only held on to the seats it had, but increased its share of the popular vote. But since then, there have been a spate of opinion polls showing the party continuing to slide in public support. Nanos, Abacus, Ipsos, Main Street, Angus Street all show the Liberals from 5 to 8 percentage points behind the Conservatives. Liberal support remains mired below 30 points on average, the lowest it has been since they were first elected in 2015. Like, that's weird for a 3-term government. The regional numbers, again, taking the average of several recent polls, and are still worse. The Liberals have lost the lead they once enjoyed in Ontario. Now, this is on July 7th, so I went to 338 to look at what the numbers for Ontario were. And when he says the Liberals lost the lead in Ontario at that point, it was...
Oh, it's being finicky again.
Look a little something like this. Let's see if I can blow it up over
Yeah.
here like that, maybe.
Just close that little thing on the side that says document.
That is the thing that's in the way.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
So if we look right here, it looks more like the Liberals sort of caught up.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a 1% at this moment. There's a little drop here. So it's not this part that he's focusing on.
No.
The coming back from here.
It's that
this little part right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a little creative poll watching. Watch it. Be careful. There's a couple more of these little things here. Okay, so
of course there is.
They've lost the lead they once enjoyed in Ontario. In recent weeks, they have also fallen behind the Bloc in Quebec. Mr. Grizzly, at the time he wrote that, I don't know where he was getting that data, because according to 338, and yes, of course, the screen is doing that to us again, but it shows the Liberals at 34 and the Bloc at 31, both with them having a little uptick in the final reporting periods, but with the Liberals with a slightly marked more. So ahead and with momentum, if we're going by just 1 or 2 weeks. And that's just the general trend. But overall, the general trend, they've been ahead of the Bloc for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 reporting periods at the time of the article. But apparently that is, according to Mr. Coyne drop, the Liberals have lost the lead they once enjoyed on Ontario, and in recent weeks they've also fallen behind the Bloc in Quebec. While in British Columbia, they now stand third. That's true. Behind both the Conservatives and the NDP. The only region where they remain clearly in the lead is Atlantic Canada. And oddly enough, at the moment he wrote that, the lead actually narrowed sharply. Interesting. So don't know where he was looking to get that data, but it certainly wasn't a poll aggregator. So that may mean that since he mentioned all those polls, he might have picked the result from each one of those polls that was worse and then put them in as being the whole picture. I assume that's what happened here. I don't, because I haven't seen his research or his notes that went into this article. But yeah, anyway. Okay. And yet, as things stand, they are still the party most likely to form a government after the next election, and that must burn your ass, isn't it, Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
Recall that the Liberals managed to win the last 2 elections without winning the popular vote, which is not a thing, honey bunny.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing in Canada. We don't have
Don't
it.
even know why you mention it. It is.
They love to mention that, don't they?
Well, they got the part. Everybody needs a participation trophy.
Wait a minute. Hold on. The participation trophy. I thought it was Liberal cock snowflakes that gave those out.
I'm sorry. I'm enjoying my tea.
Here, let me just. I'll do a double sippage, but with a Guinness.
Oh, we even got 8.5 from the East German judge on that one. So
they're still around?
Oh, somewhere they're around. We know they're still around. So, yeah. Yes, indeed, the Liberals' 32.6% share of the vote in 2021 was not only more than a percentage point less than the Conservatives, it was the smallest popular mandate any government has received in our history, smaller even than the 33.1% share the Liberals recorded in 2019. Yes, that is true. But of course, it is the smallest percentage recorded because prior to when was it that the Conservative Party completely imploded and then we got the reforms and all of that? What, 1993? Around there? We only had 3 parties that got people elected. And now we have 6, along with if you count independents. It's like, yeah. The vote splits more ways, so the share is going to be markedly lower after a certain period. Andrew, it's math. Let's see. If we divide the pie 5 ways, is it more or less likely that people will be winning with 40%?
I got nothing.
It's painful. It's painful how dumb this is. But wait, there's more.
There's always more.
There's more.
Always more.
The Liberal vote is that much more efficiently distributed than the Conservative vote. Even today, the seat modeling site 338canada.com, so he does know it exists, has the Liberals projected to win 144 seats, far from a majority, but 10 more than the Conservatives are projected to win, and enough with the support of the NDP to allow them to carry on governing, which also must make you wake up at night in cold flop sweat. Doesn't it, Andrew? Huh? So, yes, indeed, the Liberal vote is much more efficiently distributed. That's why the Bloc Québécois and the Conservatives in their lovely little coalition that they're in never, ever, 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 ever will allow proportional representation to happen. And that's why it's not the Prime Minister's fault that it did it. Because also, when you add up the Bloc vote and the Conservative vote together, it's a much bigger number than the NDP and the Green vote. So, pure politics aside, just the number of people supporting parties who don't want it versus people who do, and then the Liberals are rather indifferent one way or another. Yeah. You're not going to pick the side that has fewer people. If you have to.
No.
Politically, it's just not going to happen. Plus, as they say, campaigns matter. The Liberals have been down before. They entered both the 2015 and 2019 campaigns trailing in the polls, have come out on top. They may yet do so again. Bum, bum, bum. But here's what's new. There's a real chance of them forming a government next time, even if they don't win the most seats. Insert gay gasp here, clutch pearls, finishing behind the Conservatives. That is not only in the popular vote, which is still not a thing, Andy.
Not a thing.
but also in seats won. We've had plenty of minority governments before, especially in recent times, 5 of the past 7, 11 of the past 22, but in these at least the governing party won more seats than any other. Welcome to the age, perhaps, of non-plurality government, defterocracy, ruled by the second place. Okay, now, he's going to give us some civics. Only once before has this been tried, after the 1925 election. So let's go back 98 years for our example, because that's current. But hey, anyway. After the 1925 election, when Liberal Prime Minister Mackenzie King, beaten by 6 points in the popular vote and with 15 fewer seats than Arthur Mahan's Conservatives, Arthur Mahan being, I believe, the Prime Minister who had the shortest tenure?
It sounds
Possibly.
about right.
Yeah. Insisted on holding onto power over the reservations of the Governor General Lord Byng. And we know how that turned out. He says like it's an ominous, terrible thing because the Conservatives didn't end up on the winning side of that. But that's the only reason why it's terrible, kids.
Terrible how democracy works as a democracy should.
Because the Westminster system worked as it was designed to do, according to its rules. But that's a terrible thing.
Don't tell. It's just a whisper. Just a whisper. Okay, don't tell anybody. But here's the thing. We don't like it when things don't go our way. Don't tell anybody. It's just a thing we do from time to time. So if they don't go our way, we'll tell you that it's bad, when in truth it's actually just how the system is designed.
You got to say that part really softly, kids. And we know how that turned out. Months later, facing defeat on a crucial vote in the House of Commons, King demanded Byng dissolve Parliament and call an election. Byng refused and asked Mahan to form a government in his place, igniting the crisis known as the King-Byng Affair. Now, the part that he skips in that, and thanks to our friend Craig Barrett at Canadian History, had already written something on that. It seems that in that little period that he skipped, right? Like this, when Mahan was the Prime Minister, well, he got to hold about like 5 or 6 votes. Just he lost on one. So he was asked to form, whether or not he could form a government by the Governor General. He said he could. He maintained the confidence of the House for 6 votes or 5, and then lost it. Well, and then they both went back to the Governor General and said, well, okay, I know that the election wasn't all that long ago because I just asked Mr. Mahan if he could form a government, but now you couldn't, and now he couldn't, and I'm guessing this was pre-NDP. So we're going to another election, and that's an election that Mackenzie King won. So the Conservatives were out again.
How convenient.
So maybe that's why it's terrible. Little part of history that Mr. Coyne edited from that article. So when he says, and you know how that went, yeah, it went because Mr. Mahan, even though he did get his chance, as the Westminster system allows, without having to go to another election, because the Governor General decided, Governor General, whose job is to make sure that there's continuity of government, primary responsibility, made sure that was done and didn't call another election. And then when both failed, then did. Seems infinitely reasonable.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about that.
Because it doesn't suit doesn't suit the narrative that he's trying to paint.
Yep. Whatever may be thought of his conduct in the latter business, King had a right to try to form a government in the first instance, notwithstanding the election result. Having been confirmed as Prime Minister by the previous Parliament, he remained Prime Minister until such time as the new Parliament voted otherwise. And that is factually correct. That thing, and it's about being able to maintain confidence of the House, are the only 2 things that matter, kids and cubbies, in this civics lesson. The person or the party, the incumbent party that was forming the government of Canada. At dissolution of the previous parliament before an election, regardless of the amount of seats or popular vote it earns, gets first crack at forming the government. Now, in the case that they lose an election to another party that happens to get a majority, well, that becomes a formality, because unless the majority party says, you know what, we don't really want to govern, we're going to surrender this, it's clear that the incumbent government is not going to have the opportunity to hold the confidence of the House, because the other party's got a majority. So we just kind of fast forward over that little step, and right, because it's going to yield nothing. But in the case, which was the case here, this one historical time in which the party does not get the most seats, the incumbent party doesn't get the most seats, but the party that does not form enough to get a majority, the first option of forming government comes to the party, the incumbent party, even if it has second or third most seats, to see if it can reach a coalition agreement or cooperation agreement with other parties in order to maintain the confidence of the House on budget and confidence measures. And that is the only thing that matters in the Westminster system, and it's the only thing that has ever mattered. And if the party cannot do that, then the party, in this instance, that had the most seats gets the next crack. And then probably in this circumstance, if they can't do it, then the party that got the third amount of seats would get a crack, because now we have more parties. Okay? So that's the only thing that matters. Moreover, as the head of a minority government, the first in Canada's history after the inconclusive 1921 election, no, it was conclusive. Every election has a conclusion. It may be a minority, maybe a slim minority, but that doesn't mean inconclusive. There's a decision that is made. Just because it's not an overwhelming mandate or doesn't mean it's inconclusive. He had demonstrated an ability to work with the Progressive Party to get legislation passed. It was not unreasonable for him to seek to hold on to power, though it was unprecedented. It's only unprecedented if it never had a chance to happen before. Right. It's like, it's not unprecedented, like, oh my God, this is so terrible. Never, but it's like, oh, well, the rules allow for this, but a situation is never allowed for this. But oh, look, it just happened. So I guess this is unprecedented. I guess it just depends with the tone of voice with which you say unprecedented. It's unprecedented. Wow, this is unprecedented. One is just like, oh, this is unprecedented. Look, this happened. The other one, oh my God, this is the end of the world. But the Trudeau Liberals would be even more well-placed to make the attempt. What attempt? You mean exercise the democratically legitimate option that's available to you under a parliamentary system that we've adhered to for 150-something years, which is one of the most proven parliamentary systems over the entire world, the most enduring, so much so that other parties that don't come from the Westminster system, like Israel, actually use a Westminster-adopted parliamentary system for their own governments. Really? That one? Okay. Yep. That one. For where King had governed with the informal cooperation of the Progressives, the Liberals would be able to cite the more formal precedent of their supply and confidence agreement with the NDP, itself a first in federal political history, though not unknown in provincial politics. Assuming the NDP were game to repeat the arrangement, the Liberals could make a persuasive case that they stood a greater chance of forming a stable government than the Conservatives. Of course, we can't let that happen. Given the special loathing the present Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre excites among progressives, moreover, the sense often expressed that he represents something new and dark in Canadian politics. Oh, you sweet talker, you. Bet you Pierre is very, very happy that you talked about them in that way. They may well feel entitled, if not morally obliged, to do whatever it takes to keep him away from the reins of power, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Especially if it was legal and the system actually legally allowed for it, and it was completely normal that it's actually happened once before in history, so it wouldn't be unprecedented. Okay. So while
Well,
normally prime ministers do not try to carry on after an election defeat, even where there remains an arithmetic possibility of governing, see Louis Saint Laurent in 1957, John Diefenbaker in 1963, Pierre Trudeau in 1979, and Paul Martin in 2006, it would not be entirely surprising to see Justin Trudeau or a successor make the attempt. Now, of course, we are assuming that in those 4 electoral periods that these defeated prime ministers would have had a willing partner with whom to work with to secure the confidence of the House. Or that something that had happened in the election that would show that another party was open to that. Of course, I don't have everything that went on in those 4 elections at my fingertips, neither do all the readers, so nobody knows how true this statement is, really. Just that there were these 4 times where somebody had lost and the other party did not have a majority, and they could have. I'm guessing if there was a deal to be made, they would have. That would be my guess. Because it's politics. It's the art of the possible. If there's a deal to be made,
oh yes,
you make it. It's like no party is any more or less virtuous than the other. If we didn't have a party with second place in seats form government on those 4 times, what's more likely? These 4 politicians were just noble men.
Sure they
who,
were.
having the opportunity to
Saintly
remain
noble.
prime minister of a G7 nation, decided, nah, the other guy won more seats, and even though the rules say I can form, and even though I know I can form confidence of the House, I will not continue with my vision for the nation. I'll just like keel over and lie down and say, oh, no, you guys take it.
Sure.
Said no one in politics ever.
You can have it.
Come on.
You can have it. No, you can have it. Seriously.
No, after you. No, after you. No, please, after you, I swear. No, indubitably, it must be you. No.
I insist.
Those 2 little, those little British chipmunks.
Oh, sir, please, after you, sir.
Yes. Certainly he or she would be entitled to try, not only as the incumbent prime minister, but on the basis of his or her ability to command the support of a majority of the members of parliament, the only relevant constitutional standard. So he is being clear about what the civics allow. But somehow he keeps on saying that doing it would be horrible. That doesn't mean it wouldn't cause a ruckus. Well, of course, and you'd kind of make sure it did. Wouldn't you, Andrew?
Well,
it only causes a ruckus if someone decides there needs to be a ruckus. Otherwise, it's just standing operating procedure, business as usual, Westminster style. Really.
Just the way it's meant to work, actually, is what it is. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Indeed, there is every prospect of a deep crisis ensuing. The Liberals could cite constitutional principle all they liked, but in attempting to govern from second place, they would still be pushing the limits of popular legitimacy. There it is. There it is.
Ooh. Oh, there's the tell.
There it is.
That's the reveal.
There it is.
That's not the tell. That's the full reveal right there.
He just dropped
the full Monty.
Dropped political columnist trow right there. Boom.
Yeah,
he Bruce Almighty did it. One fell swoop. There went the Velcro. Woo. Damn. Woo. Put that thing away. Woo.
Sir, please, sir. This is a Wendy's.
Woo. That's an interesting combo. And if there's one thing we know about the present day Conservative Party, it's that they delight in pushing limits themselves. Right. So he's writing this whole article. How it would be terrible and illegitimate for the Liberals doing that. I guess under some pretext that we live in some fantasy reality that if the Conservatives had an opportunity, if it ends up being a minority government and the Conservatives and the Bloc say, you know what, let's do it. That the Conservatives wouldn't do the same damn thing.
Come on, like
and with really, the Bloc, really, which would be irony and a half, considering how they lost their minds with Clayton Giuseppe. Yeah. It's a constitutional crisis. You're giving the bloc a veto. Hey, we need one
cute.
partner to make a majority. Hey, bloc, how you feeling about it? Let's bring back those old Mulroney days. What'd you say?
See, the beauty of it is, it's like it's they fail to recognize that, they fail to recognize it, and that's what I think is just it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. They don't even see what they're doing while they're doing it.
Do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth as they are coming out of your mouth?
No. Do you even listen to yourself?
We don't have.
That was the last. I think that was the final episode of Picard. So there's a scene where Jean-Luc Picard and his XO, name's escaping me, says, "We'll go aboard." Riker. Pardon? Number one, yeah, but what's his name again? Riker, William Riker, says, "We'll go aboard," and then and then Worf chimes in, "And I will make it a threesome." And Riker just turns and looks at him. He goes, "Do you even hear the words that are coming out of your mouth?"
That's like when I
because it was on a streaming service. They could do this.
That's like when I end the show. I say, "We'll slip something right into your box."
Exactly.
Oh, that came out right. Did it?
And I will make it a threesome.
Now, we don't have to speculate too much about this. We already know what the conservative position is. The party that wins the most seats governs, period. Well, you're wrong. You were wrong yesterday, you're wrong today, and you will be wrong tomorrow. You will always be wrong, so wrong.
So wrong.
We know this because the issue has come up before in the, we'll look at that, the coalition crisis of 2008. The Liberals in coalition with the NDP and with the support of the Bloc attempted to bring down Stephen Harper's minority Conservative government and replace it by leave of the Governor-General. That evil little spectre. Without an election, as the Westminster system allows. Again, why is it that you are taking things that are normal and trying to frame them as if they're weird?
Because he's relying upon the ignorance of those who have never learned what the Westminster system is or how it works, and it's our job to make sure people understand it. So, do you know anything about civics, Mr.
But
Coyne?
He does. That's the whole point. This article shows that he really does. It's just like, the civics say this, but I want this to be the reality. So let me preemptively frame this potentially 2 years before an election actually takes place. Thank you very much, because that's how desperate I need, because that's how much help this guy needs.
Not how it works. Not how it works. Not how it works.
Nope. Not happening. So it was, after all, just 2 months since the last one, which means that if Harper's government was not able to hold the majority or the confidence of the House, that yes, the Governor-General would have been perfectly entitled to say, hey, it's only been 2 months. We're not going into an election. Can you make it work? And them three were about to say, yes, we can establish a supply and confidence agreement to make that happen. Not a coalition. Nobody was going to be having minister positions and getting the limo and all that kind of stuff. Just a confidence and supply agreement, the same thing that we have now, which has been serving us kind of well.
What we have, what we already have.
Yes, but apparently what we already have is evil if the Bloc is involved. But should, in the same situation that Mr. Coyne describes, the Conservatives do the thing that he's trying to make you afraid that the Liberals will do, and do it with the Bloc, well, then it won't be a constitutional crisis, right? It will just be the party with the most seats taking government like it's supposed to. Except it's not.
Has he sold his soul? Like what? Like seriously, at one point, I respected his work. At one point, I thought he was a good journalist and a good writer.
But
I don't anymore. He's thrown it all out the window. Somebody paid him off. Is what I'm not making an accusation. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying, speculatively speaking, it seems that somebody somewhere wrote him a check to say, come to our side of the fence, because what the hell has gone on with this?
Well, hey, listen, we've said it before, right? Many episodes ago, but when we're talking about this, interference from the government of the Communist government of the People's Republic of China. Do you really think that if somebody was serious about a political influential campaign, that they would stop at just nomination writings, that they maybe wouldn't try to get someone in the NGO community and someone in the business community, maybe the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, maybe somebody in media, a few people? I mean, since we're doing it, like, let's do it.
If you're going to go all the way.
So, Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, lots of countries, United States GOP, Hungary, lots of
wait a
countries
second.
with interests.
You just mentioned something there. The U.S. GOP.
Yes.
Who's one of their biggest supporters? There's a hedge fund, Chatham Asset Management, is a big supporter of the GOP. They're kind of Christo-fascist too at the same time, but that's neither here nor there. But they do own 66.6% of Post Media,
which owns the Sun Chain,
and the Ottawa Citizen, the Montreal Gazette, the National Post,
that liberal rag, the Calgary Herald, that printed that the Prime Minister had thousands of people swarming him in public at the stampede.
Yeah, that liberal rag, the Calgary Herald, which is owned by Post Media.
Yep.
So 66.6%. I don't know if the 0.6 is true. I just like to say it because 666 and they're Christo-fascists, and I think it's funny that way. But they do own 66%. That's not up for debate. That is fact. That is fact. They own 66% of Post Media. And that was the ownership laws were changed by Stephen Harper. Because just at one point, foreign ownership wasn't even allowed of our
just
media.
Like the foreign ownership laws on housing was also amazing. And we're having trouble with both right now. Now that he's living in exile and wherever he's IDU lair, petting his kitty.
Well, didn't somebody create a map that showed all the abandoned condo buildings in downtown Toronto, of which there are hundreds of them, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 stories and higher, and they're building more. And something like, I think at one point in time, just a couple of years ago, 48% of them were, the dwellings in those were abandoned. There was nobody living in them. It's called money laundering, folks, in case you didn't know. Foreign money laundering.
Yep.
It's been well proven multiple
I just
times.
keep on having these images of Harper, almost like Inspector Gadget, in his lair, Dr. Claw petting a kitty. It's oh, I'll get you next time, Trudeau. Next time.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of Ernst Stavro Blofeld from the Bond films. But because Dr. Claw was patterned after that.
Hello, Mittens. Trudeau got me again. Come here, kitty. I need to be soothed. Now,
well, here's the thing. So we have a housing crisis, right? So all those places are empty. They're owned by foreign individuals who are washing their money here in our country. Why don't we just, I don't know, put people in them? Well, we don't want that. I don't give a fuck what you want. We have a housing crisis. We need to put people somewhere. You've got foreign owners that don't live there, and they're laundering money in our country. And if you don't believe me, Stephen Poonawasi has written papers about this, all incredibly well researched and documented. It's fact, not fiction. Sorry, I got off topic there. You keep rolling. I'll be right back. I got to take care of something. I'll be right back.
It was entirely legal, but spectacularly illegitimate. Again. Not only because of the involvement of the Bloc, but because of the remarkably weak position of the Liberals, fresh from one of their worst election defeats in history with just 77 seats. They would not have held a majority within their own coalition, not to mention that their leader, Stéphane Dion, had just pledged to resign. Public opinion revolted. The Prime Minister prevailed upon the Governor-General to prorogue Parliament, and the Liberals lost their nerve. And all the peasants danced happily around the maypole. There's so much wrong with this paragraph. There's so much wrong with this paragraph. It doesn't matter, again, how weak the position is. It doesn't matter if the 2 or 3 coalition parties are close, all equal or close to number in seats when they form. What matters is, can they form, in this case, 170, and make sure that budget bills and confidence matters get through without bumps in order to ensure that there is continuity of government. Nothing else matters. You can scream it's illegitimate all you want. But, honey, if you happen to be supporting a party or being a member of the party that is shown for since about 2005 or so, even before, that it just cannot play well with others, will not play well with others, and does not want to make friends with anybody but their own kind, you cannot really be surprised that when comes time for minority parliament, or even was the case in a proportional government, that this party would have any willing partners to work with in order to do the number one thing you must do in the Westminster parliamentary system, the one thing that matters more than anything else, which is maintain the confidence of the House. Right now, you are crying because the party that you support, the party you would most like to win, principally because you can't stand the fact that Justin Trudeau exists, and that seems to be your only motivation for which you are supporting them, because certainly it can't be on reason or logic.
No. Is it a jealousy thing with his sister?
I really don't know. I've wondered that too, but who knows? But it's like the only reason you're upset because the party that you support has made itself so toxic that nobody wants to work with it. If it had made better choices somewhere along the way, in the situation of a minority government where the Liberals did not have the most seats, but the Conservatives did not have enough to form a majority on its own, and came time to do these negotiations, there would be other parties that would also be tired of the Liberals being willing to work with the Conservatives. But since you decided to be a raging bag of micro cocks,
it's funny because it's true.
It's not Trudeau's fault that you're unlikable, and it certainly isn't the Westminster parliamentary system, and it is not illegitimate that people would like to work with people who are not assholes.
Just don't be a dick.
Your problem's not with the Westminster system. Your problem's with the fact that the party that you like can't work with anyone. Won't work with anyone. They have to get an outright majority or they will never be a government because they have no people skills. They're unpleasant.
And
they're boring and boorish.
And people skills are really important because you need to be able to communicate as a human being and not like, I don't know, Michael Cooper. Come to one individual. Just one individual. There's other fella from Alberta, Friesen or Reason or Friesen or Threesen.
Reason.
And then there's Sam Oosteroff.
Please, there's not enough water. Think of the fishes.
Sorry, dude. Sorry. I know. I threw a lot on you right there.
In my mouth.
I know. And I apologize. You know,
I know. You get on a roll. There's only one.
Sometimes it just happens.
I can only take so much conservative shoved down my throat at one time.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Yummy tea. Ever since the Conservatives have raised the specter of an undemocratic, in quotes, because, he has to put undemocratic in quotes there because he knows damn well it's democratic.
Yeah.
Coalition attempting to, quote, overturn the results of an election. No, not overturning the results of an election. The results of the election stay the same. If they were overturning the results of the election, we'd be going into another election, and it still wouldn't be overturning the results of an election because before that can happen, those results stay in the books, and the government has to have had an incident happen where they showed that they could not hold the confidence of the House. Nothing about this is overturning the results of an election. Overturning the results of an election is when the results are made and you start filing lawsuits and saying that the election was rigged somehow. Not because, the vagaries of the Westminster system allowed it so that the party that had the second was able to cooperate with other parties that they actually like because they don't spend the entire time 24/7 hours a day and all money that they receive from campaigning insulting 2/3 of the Canadian population, tell them that they're shit and pedophiles and baby murderers and lovers of post-birth abortion.
It's not a thing. If it was a thing, that would be called murder.
You're infanticide. You're there's actually a $50 legal term for it, infanticide, that has like the "ide" suffix at the end, which means murder.
So you ever notice
infanticide, fraticide?
Just a side note to that, sidebar, if you will, sidebar to that is that the folks who always go on about the anti-abortion folks always go on about the anti-abortion. We're for pro-life, we're pro-life, blah, 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 blah. They're also pro-Second Amendment, including Canadians who don't even realize we don't have a fucking Second Amendment. Actually, we do. That was to allow Manitoba to join Confederation, but that's got nothing to do with guns. But they're pro-gun, they're pro-death penalty. Wait a minute, what?
Mm-hmm.
How can you be pro-life and pro-death penalty? That
you don't go to conservatives for coherence, consistency, and constancy.
It's like, fuck me.
You do, especially over time. They're very not good at the longitudinal game. Okay.
And again, we don't identify with a particular political party.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us do.
Mm-hmm.
And never will. I personally never will, ever. I see elements of this party and this party and this party that I like. I used to see elements in the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, but they don't exist anymore. So the reformicons, the Christo-fascists that we have now, I see nothing in that party that is. I can't connect to any of it.
Back to the story, kitties.
Thank you.
It was a feature of both the 2011 and 2015 election campaigns in which it was anticipated the Conservatives might win the most seats, but not a majority. Drama again. The point, one supposes, was to scare wavering centrist voters into the Conservative camp. Better a strong, stable Conservative majority, they were encouraged to believe, than a risky, unstable coalition. But had the Conservatives in fact won a minority, it was not unreasonable to expect a repeat of the 2008 experience. If not King Byng, the Conservatives defeated in the House, refusing to yield power. The Governor-General perhaps this time siding with the opposition, the government appealing over her head to public opinion. Not a thing. Everyone drawing lines in the sand. Who knows what result? Like really, as if the Queen back then would be turning around and say, oh, well, gee, since Conservatives object, let me just set aside thousands of years of precedent and I'll lay on my back for belly scritches and there you go, subjects. Have you met her? I said in the other thing she was a nurse in the Second World War. She wasn't a nurse. I made a mistake. She was a mechanic.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
She was a mechanic.
Mechanic, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Really? Have you met her?
Yeah.
In the event.
Apparently not.
The worst case. Now, here's where we go. In the event, the worst case scenario did not arise. The Conservatives won a majority in 2011 as the Liberals did in 2015, but the issue has not gone away, not least because there appears to be no expert consensus on how such a crisis should be resolved. There's no need for one, Andrew. There appears to be no
pulling
expert
shit out of his
consensus.
ass, isn't he?
It would not be a crisis. It would be a thing. And it would not be a bad thing or a good thing. It wouldn't be a celebration thing, or it wouldn't be a crisis thing. It would be a thing. The way that the votes fall, the way that the seats fall, yes, one party is going to get the number 2 amount of seats. And it is possible statistically that in our system that happens when it's the incumbent party and when nobody gets a majority.
Kind of how
And
it works.
back then, people thought of that possibility and created a system because of it. In case that happens, the incumbent party gets first crack to hold the confidence of the House, which is the only thing that matters. And failing that, then the party with the most seats gets. So, how we run things, those documents that say that, I don't know what act that's in, but that is the expert consensus on how a crisis should be resolved, and it's a step-by-step process, and it's right there, buddy. This is, you're treating it like it's a mystery that's been unresolved. Nobody's done this before. It's like, there's no need. We've never had to think about it because
He's Sarah McLachlan's that one. He's Sarah McLachlan that one. He was building a mystery.
Ooh. The current situation is a little different in that the Liberals are in power. Should they win fewer seats than the Conservatives in the next election, they would nevertheless be the incumbents, which I've been saying all along, Felicia, but for some reason you seem to have a problem with that. The Tories might put up a fuss, but once the Prime Minister had met the House and won a vote of confidence with the help of the NDP, there would seem little they could do. No. There is nothing they could do.
Nothing.
Other than try to raise a big shitstorm and try to go over the head to the court of public opinion, which again, did you see what Trudeau just did to a crowd that was yelling and screaming in his face? Huh? Unbothered.
Not
Keep
faced
yelling.
in the least.
Keep
Not
yelling.
faced
I'm
in
going to
the
keep
least.
shaking hands and smiling and talking to the people who came here for the right damn reasons.
You will not intimidate me.
Bothered. Bingo.
Well, and in that case, that's where he exemplifies he is his father's son. You will not push me around. Just watch me. Oh, God, I wanted him to say that so much during the occupation.
We do. That's,
and I mean, even reporters were writing that. Say the line, say the line, say the line.
Like, say it. It's like you're doing the Rocky Horror thing. And Tissot, say it. Patience. Like, and I think I can't remember who was at the network that said he would have just Lachlan. I think he says if he would have just stood up on Parliament and said, "Get off my lawn."
That would have been a thing of beauty.
Yes. That doesn't mean the Conservatives would not try everything in their power to call the government's legitimacy into doubt, appealing to precedent and popular belief. The government is the party that wins the most seats, like you're doing right now, Andrew. Just preparing the terrain, aren't you? Being a good little pioneer, aren't you? Over constitutional principle, the government is the party that has the support of a majority of the House. We should not assume they would not find a sympathetic hearing, at least among partisan Conservatives. Oh, really? Gee, wow, let's go out on a limb here. Let's see, the party that wants Trudeau gone, who has like the wicked wacko members that show up in Belleville to yell like that, would find a sympathetic ear to the argument that the party that got the most seats, even though not a majority and even though they can't command the confidence of the House, should form the government. Really? We're really surprised that they would find a sympathetic audience among those people who don't know anything about civics, don't care about rules, and don't believe that Liberals should ever form a government ever again.
They fail to
like that opinion
understand.
matters.
They fail to understand how they would completely give up all their freedoms if that they say they don't have if their guy gets into power.
Yep.
They don't even understand it. It's like it's sad and it's tragic and it's heartbreaking to know that our education system in this country has diminished to the point where they don't understand basic civics.
Mm-hmm. And then the end of this article. Oh no, it's not the end. Oh my God, I thought it was the end.
Oh, we can't keep going, bro. We got to roll on out shortly. We're almost 2 hours down.
Well, it is one thing for Conservatives to accept that they are unlikely to win a majority. They have only managed it 5 times, after all, in the past 100 years. But to be told that they will not be permitted even to form a minority government may be more than many of them can bear. The danger of this resulting in some sort of crisis is real. To be told you didn't win, so you can't form government. But we got the popular vote. It's not a thing. But we formed the most. We got the most seats. Can you hold confidence of the House? Then that's not a thing.
It's not a thing. We're giving basic civics here. Really
don't come crying
basic
to me.
civics.
I got nothing for you. Maybe you can't handle Westminster. Again, like we said to Dr. Abdul Salam, if you're really unhappy with our system of government, please let us help you find a country that has a system of government that you like, where the party that you don't like is never allowed to win, and we will help you back.
Well, and it comes down to we need to protect our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Yeah. It stands for everybody in the country, including the people you don't like or care for. They're protected by it too. And if you can't handle that,
this is not the country for you.
Do fucking bad.
This is not the country for you.
And I don't know if she was born here. I have no idea. And that's neither here nor there for me.
The point is irrelevant to the fact that she was born here. If you're born here and you don't like it here, the suffering is optional.
Go.
Nobody's going to stop you from going.
Understand. I'm not saying
if you weren't born
where you came from. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
No.
If you don't like
we want you to be happy. Find someplace you're happy.
If you don't like our freedom, and we are one of the freest nations on earth, and we're working towards becoming the best free nation on earth, if you can't handle that, if you can't handle the fact that my compatriot, my brother from another mother who shares this screen with me, my partner in this, if you can't handle the fact that he has the same rights and privileges that you have.
And duties.
And that's important to mention. If you can't handle the fact, don't let the door hit you in the fucking ass. Fucking leave.
Yep. And that applies if you were born here and not born here. If you weren't born here and you came here and you tried it out and said, you know what, this is not for me. Hey, no hard feelings.
I don't like this democratic freedom thing that we get to exercise with all these charters of rights things because they protect him. I only want them to protect me. But that's not how it works.
But hey, no hard feelings. That's just not how it works here. Let's find a country where that works that way.
You can go. I'm not going to hate on you. I'm just going to say
we're not going to hold you back, and we're not going to force you to live under this oppressive tyranny.
Yes, this oppressive tyranny. I want my freedoms back. You drove across the country and parked on my doorstep for 3 weeks, but you weren't free.
You want to be happy. We want you to be happy.
Yes, we do.
If you can't be happy here, we
Find
still want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And if we can help, we're Canadian. We're helpful a lot. It's the neighborly thing to do. All right. 2 paragraphs left in this thing. The longer the Liberal NDP arrangement endures and the more solidified it becomes, the greater the danger. The danger of what? The danger of Canadians getting used to enjoying competent government and realizing that the Conservative Party is a grift, and then it would have to get different people and change all its policies and priorities and structures and whatnot and actually become a reasonable party again. That danger? Okay. So long as the Liberals and NDP remain separate and independent parties, of course, with distinct agendas and interests, the Tories could always dream of fluking into a majority. All they needed was the vote to split just right. At the very least, they could hope to form a strong minority government and bluff their way through a la Harper in 2006-11. But if the present agreement is a sign of the times, it's a sign of things to come, a more or less permanent Liberal NDP alliance, that possibly recedes from view. And again, whose fault is that? When one party says we will not work with anybody under any circumstance whatsoever, and working with them in any way, shape, or form is giving them a victory, and we cannot have that, well, you do expect the other parties to not work together themselves?
Well,
self-segregation is not exclusion. You decided to walk away from the table of normalcy. Nobody sat at that table and said, somebody's already sitting here, you can't sit here. You up and left. You went to the bathroom and you never came back.
That's your problem, not mine.
If the upper limit on the Conservative share of the vote is 35% to 40%, if the remainder, aside from the smaller parties, should henceforth be viewed not as being divided between 2 parties, but as a single progressive voting bloc, surprise, surprise, yes, voting blocks, those happen under proportional representation too, by the way. Or ranked ballot. Yeah, mention parties with similar interests that have minor differences between them working together to stop the party that wants to destroy everything that these 2 parties stand for working. Like, shocker.
Mm.
How undemocratic. Just, my God, we just can't have that. If the upper limit should henceforth be viewed as not being divided between two parties, but as a single progressive voting bloc to be configured and reconfigured into formal or informal coalitions in which the only question is how many seats will be Liberal and how many will be NDP. If there's no possibility for the Conservatives to win power ever, then we all have some thinking to do. The Conservatives, most of all, will finally... Yeah, the Conservatives most of all. Here, conservative people, you're the business people, right? Right?
Mm.
You're putting out a shit product no one wants to buy.
Maybe you should, refine that.
Maybe you have some thinking to do. Maybe a little praying.
Maybe.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I did. I saw that. Yeah, that's good. Good.
And kids, that's the end of today's edition of Storytime with Queen Beaver. We hope that you loved it. Because we loved reading these stories to you. Now, kids and cubs, let your parents know that you loved Storytime with Queen Beaver and that you think it should go national. Come on, applaud. COVID was long. Your queen needs this.
I get you.
So please let your friends know about us. Let them know we exist. Please recommend us. We love the word of mouth. It's valuable. It means a lot to us. We are available on all platforms. As we mentioned yesterday, Stitcher becomes a dead app on August 29th. So please make your moving arrangements so that we can have breakfast together in the morning on August 30th. We don't want to lose you. If you're not listening on a Beaver Grizzly friendly platform, why?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, why? We'd love to hear from you. So please write to us at our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, on our Twitter feed at True Eager, and of course by email truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. We love it. We read everything. Thank you so very much.
We might not reply quickly because we're busy, but we do read everything.
Yes, we do read everything. And at one point, I'm going to collate some things together and read some of your comments and maybe just do a feedback show. Okay, what else do we have for you? Yes, please, if you would like us to come to you as soon as we have something fresh off the bandwidth, you go to our Podpage site. That's podpage.com/ I believe it's the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And that squiggly under my chin is where you can scan the QR code. And if you think that we've done some good shows for you, you like our content, all right, I'm shaking it for tips. So you scan that little QR code there where Mr. Grizzly's pointing to, and that brings you to our emergency hydration fund. And if you are listening at home, then you use your voice command, or your fingers to go to Coffee. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And that's where you can make your contribution to our hydration fund. I'm shaking them. There you go. Everything that you give is deeply appreciated. So, and it keeps us going. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager blah, 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 blah. Let's try that again. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
I've been thinking about how I need to talk to my MPP and my MP about adopting a national civics program for children and adults all across the country. A federal thing. I need to speak to both MPP and MP, of course. Maybe even my city councilors say, listen, we got to get this going, because the illiteracy when it comes to civics in this country is really troublesome. I mean, it's really troublesome. And I say that because of what took place in Belleville just the other day. These are people who are completely illiterate when it comes to basic civics in this country, and that is not a good thing. No. It's not. Look, I don't expect you to be well-versed on the Westminster system of parliamentary democracy, but I expect you to have a minimal amount of understanding. Like, for example, we don't have a Second Amendment when it comes to guns. That's just a little thing. We don't have free speech. We have freedom of expression. Popular vote isn't a thing in this country, and you cannot run for prime minister. Mm-hmm. Those are really basic things. And it seems that a vast swath of the population of this nation seems to have either forgotten it or never learned it. Mm-hmm. And that really is troubling to me.
Yep. And we can add to that the vagaries of the Westminster system do not an illegitimate result make.
Exactly. Exactly.
They just don't. So, Andrew, dude,
get it together, man.
That's not it.
Yeah, it's
just not it. No. Mr. Grizzly, please roll them credits. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver media podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. And because we always have a little something for you before we go, a big congratulations from us to all the competitors and officials and volunteers at the 2023 North American Indigenous Games. Oh, yes, they closed in Halifax. Unfortunately, because of the storm, the closing ceremony had to be canceled, which is a bit of a womp way to end so much celebration and culture and achievement. The announcement of the 2027 games has taken place, and the site will be Calgary, where athletes from 750 different First Nations across North America are expected to attend. Local Indigenous leaders fully support bringing the games to Treaty 7 territory, with the city and the nearby Tsutena Nation hosting events. Calgary Mayor Jyoti Jandik is on record as having said, "Youth need to be given opportunities. If we've got a future that is free of intergenerational trauma and a future that provides opportunity, bringing games like this to town is really a good way to move the needle on that." Tourism Calgary says they helped to organize the bid. They said it cost about $15 to $20 million to host the competition, but that will generate twice that amount in spin-off benefits for the local community. But that it's not just about that, because this is about celebration, gathering, and that is very important. And the fact that athletics and culture will be coming together in this makes the event even more worthwhile. So, right on. Let's hope this becomes more and more a thing, and they actually starts to get TV coverage and stuff.
Good on you. Good on you.
Well done.
All right. See ya.
Bye. And I'll be back tomorrow.